Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm just going to answer a question that I got on another video, the video on how to improve your back workout, and it's from VFX Bro Gaming. Cool name, bro. Please do a video on rear delts. I find it very hard to train them correctly and build round shoulders. Alrighty man, thanks for your question. You're talking to the right guy, because I have had problems with building my rear delts for as long as I've been working out, but the thing is only on this shoulder. I might try and show you, but if you look on this shoulder here, hold up, you can see that rear delt is pretty, it pops real well. That's actually a very bad shot. And then if you go to this side, see it doesn't, it looks very front dominant and there's not much rear delt there. Now I could take the route of just taking you through the actual rear delt exercises, or like how to adjust the rear delt exercise to activate the rear delt, but that's not the problem in my case, so I'm not going to do that for you. I'm going to take you on a tour of muscular imbalance that's in me, okay? And then give you some tips. So my posture, right? I use this front delt more than this front delt, this pec more than this pec, this rear delt more than this rear delt, this arm's bigger than this arm. I use this oblique more than this external oblique more than this external oblique. If you look here, you probably can't see it, but this side of my abs is bigger than this side of my rectus abdominis. I use this lat more than this lat, okay? And that's because I have a rotational imbalance. I'm just going to tell you if I'm assuming you have one that's bigger than the other, because most people have a unilateral imbalance. So this is what's happening with me, okay? So the reason this rear delt doesn't turn on is because this front delt is overdeveloped, which is putting my shoulder like that, okay? Along with that comes a winging of the scapula. So the position of the shoulder, and then you go deeper than that, you've got the position of the scapula, and then deeper than that, you've got the position of the spine. So I'm fixed like this. I'm fixed in a rotation like this. Obviously I'm exaggerating it. And what that does, that means I have to have hypermobility in this shoulder, which restricts my mobility in this plane because I'm too tight back here on this side. So if you can just bear with me here, so I'm rotated this way, which means I have to, whenever I turn, because I've got restricted mobility, I have to over extend the shoulder and over contract the rhomboids and whatnot. And then whenever I try to, because of that, because I can't rotate this way as well, whenever I try to reach around, I have to over protract my shoulder because I don't have the twist in the oblique. So basically what I'm saying is your problem at the rear delt isn't actually a rear delt problem, it's a scapular problem, and it's probably a spinal problem as well. So what I have to do, and what happens with that is, so I'm like that, which means my neck is like this, and that puts my hips, if you can look here, that puts my hips, so I'm rotated like this, puts my hips like that, and my neck like this, because your body will do everything it has to keep your eyes and ears in level with the horizon, because you've got to know you got to see what you're hunting and what's hunting you. You've got to hear, it's called the vestibular system. You've got to hear and then to chew, because food's more important than muscles. So if anything, to realign the neck, and then the hips always mimic the neck. So because I'm facing this way, my hips will do the same. So what you've got to do is unwind your spine pretty much. Now this is if you have a unilateral imbalance, but I'm just doing this for a broad spectrum of people so that it can help as many as you can. But for you in particular, you don't necessarily just want to do more rear delt exercises, because you're not going to be able to activate it because they're being inhibited by the muscles at the front. Same thing like I said in the back video, except it's a little bit different, except because it's not just the chest, it's mainly the pec. So when you use the rear delt is used to extend the shoulder, right? But if this front delt is too tight, it won't allow the shoulder to extend as much. And also what I've noticed is on this side, I tend, because of my imbalance like that I already had, right? I tend to use the teres, you know, like those little muscles there, the rotator cuff and whatnot, in placement of the rear delt. So what you've got to do is you've got to stretch and massage these muscles here and these muscles here. You've got to stretch this muscle here to allow it to come to extend the shoulder, and then you've got to stretch and foam roll here so that these muscles don't turn on because they're facilitated. Basically, the law of facilitation is anytime I can't remember the terminology, but basically so if I do a bicep curl, that is ingrained in the nervous system, and each time I do it, it's easier to do. So if you train the body wrong, every time you train the body wrong, it makes it easier to train the body wrong. So what you'll want to do is you can do it either way. You can work from the spine out, or you can work from the shoulder in. So you'd want to stretch the shoulder, stretch the front of the shoulder so that you can allow extension, and then you'll want to put the shoulder blade back in its position. So any exercise that you turn the arms outward like that, anything that, because your scapula's like this, you want it that way, you want it externally rotated. So that's coupled with thoracic extension, so you'll want to mobilize the thoracic spine as well. I've shown you that before, laying the foam roller up and back like so. Also what you'll want to do if you've got a unilateral imbalance, this is for anyone, you want to fix your obliques. So because I fire this oblique more than this one, I have to isolate this one a lot, so I don't train this oblique at all. And then also what you can do is stretch in the other direction. So if I'm fixed this way, I want to lock my hips and I want to stretch my spine this way so that I can move that way, if that makes sense. You've basically got to unwind your spine pretty much. So what seemed like just a shoulder problem or of not doing an exercise properly turns out to be a postural problem in the spine and the hips and the neck. And then even deeper than that, you've got to think, okay, what's causing this rotational imbalance? Me personally, I always sit, for years I would sit like this and turn my head to watch TV. So because I turned my head this way, that meant my hips had to turn that way, which put me in a fixed position like this, which meant I had to use hypermobility here and hypermobility here, which overused this front delt, inhibiting this rear delt, making me have to use these muscles too much. I hope this all makes sense and I'm not ranting too much, but pretty much you're just going to have to... I'm just giving you something to think about so you can become aware of your body and when you move. And then basically just once you've figured out what your fixed sort of compensation posture is, then you just try and unwind it with various stretches. So yeah, I hope that helps your question, buddy. I wouldn't necessarily do, rear delt exercises. Basically, you'll want to stretch your traps, front delt, chest. Do exercises that allow the shoulders to come back down and rotate the scapula. And if you notice that you feel these muscles here activating in replacement of these muscles, then you want to foam roll and deactivate these muscles so that they're not as they don't want to work as much. And then, like I said, front delt. I may have repeated myself like 6 times here, but just this is very fascinating stuff for me. For 3 years, I had all these unilateral problems, and you just go on a typical bodybuilding.com forum and they'd say, oh, just work the other side more, or oh, it's genetic, and I just thought, surely that can't be it. And it took me a while, but then I slowly figured out that it all originates really in the spine, hips, and the skull, and then it mirrors itself outwards. So everything moves from the core outwards, and you can take that metaphysically as well if you want, like the core of who you are, who decides what to do, which means the real cause of it is my laziness sitting at the TV turning and then that caused all of this, and it's just a, you know, a snowball effect down. But yeah, I hope that helps. Let me know if I didn't even answer your question properly, and if you want any more questions, just leave them below. Subscribe if you haven't. See you next time.